need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
It's time to set our intentions, set our self-care, and find our focus. This is Mindful Mondays with Sahara Ali on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, that's right. It's Mindful Mondays and time to set our intentions. Sahara Ali is the founder of SAJI Yoga Incorporated. It's a spiritual architect who utilizes life coaching tools, spiritual techniques, yoga, and meditation to help clients build their own best life. Sahara Ali, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, KBLA family. Welcome to Mindful Monday, where we get our minds right for the week by setting positive intentions to honor our mind and body through meditation, prayer, and affirmation as we step unapologetically into our week, being on purpose with faith, power, wisdom, and truth. Our celestial influence this week is Mars in Virgo until August 6th. Shifting consciousness, enhancing the need to be on purpose. Mars is known for its association with war and action and encounters with those that need to analyze and overprocess. Virgo is a sign of perfection and analytic thinking. This combination sets the stage for transformative collective empowerment. This transit acts as a divine nudge, urging us to embrace our inner strength while discarding outdated narratives no longer serving our highest good. Mars in Virgo compels us to act with intention, redefining our values and aspirations so they align with the clarity of our soul's wisdom. It's a cosmic call to nurture ourselves and our communities, fostering growth not through haste but through thoughtful discernment, channeling life force energy towards collective evolutionary actions, expanding our inner vision. The cosmic power of Mars and Virgo creates a powerful combination of action and intelligence in one stride. Goes the saying, what we value gets done. We benefit by knowing the mind is our tool of survival, an instrument that allows us to understand, discover, and evolve. The call to action is to put our mind and will to focus on the manifestation of what we want, not what we don't want. It's time to gain insight and power by reframing how we use our will and our power, both physically and emotionally. Under this Mars and Virgo transit, the question is, are you leveling up? Are you leveling up to your fullest potential, personally and collectively? Going forward with our KBLA Mindful Monday meditation, bring your awareness right here, right now, and take a breath. Take a breath and go inside and think about, where are you? Are you leveling up? Regarding all the things that we are faced with in our lives right now, are you leveling up? Just breathe and sit with that for a minute. Breathe, relax, be in this moment, quieting the mind, opening your heart, and opening your heart to your courage, opening your heart to your power, opening your heart to purpose. Just breathe. Breathe connecting to the Most High. Breathe knowing that your angels and ancestors is all around you, connecting you to your wholeness. Relax. Let go. Breathe. Open and ready to receive clarity of your purpose. Just center yourself, ground yourself, breathing deeply, listening to your soul's wisdom, listening to your heart, listening to insight, embracing truth. Relax, let go, and breathe, connecting to divine guidance, ready to embrace change, allowing yourself to trust and know that you matter, your life matters, and you are a change agent at this time to support the matter of others' lives. Take a breath, relax, and sit with yourself, and allow yourself to embrace what it feels like to be on purpose, what it feels like to level up to your fullest potential and to not black down. Just breathe and sit with them, and allowing yourself to integrate your wholeness, allowing yourself to align with your purpose. I'll take the biggest breath that you've had all morning. In that breath, allow yourself to embrace our Mindful Monday affirmation for the week. Just relax and breathe and listen. Today with grace, I stand unapologetically in my power, receptive to the Most High's will to be done with ease. Sit with that. Today with grace, I stand unapologetically in my power, receptive to the Most High's will to be done with ease. Relax. Bring your awareness back. Be in present time. Giving yourself permission to unapologetically, with grace, stand in your power, receptive to the Most High's will to be done with ease. Thank you, KBLA family. Thank you, Travis Smiley. Thank you, 1580 KBLA. Everybody, have an unapologetic, mindfully blessed week. And remember, be on purpose and level up.
That's Sahara Ali. Sahara, thank you so much. I receive everything about Virgos being intentional. So you have any sound baths or anything coming up?
I have a special for the KBLA listeners at my office, and they can call Elise, and Elise will connect you, 213-628-9783. That's 628-9783.
And they can also reach at your website at Sahara Ali. That's SAHARAHALI.com. Sahara, thank you so much. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell Dominique, but this is my favorite segment on First Things First. I really appreciate you grounding us, because this world right now. Certainly appreciate you. When we come forward, Ed Sanders is in the seat. We're going to take a look at what's happening across the country, talk about this disaster in Texas, as well as the big, beautiful bill. Only on KBLA, Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Yeah.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
That's right. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr. I'm subbing in today for Dominique DiPrima. Don't worry, the Queen will be back tomorrow. Her and Miles are completing their pilgrimage over to the continent. I know you guys have been listening every day to their reporting, their stories. I can't wait to hear more stories when they get back here in the States. But right now, I have a partner in politics. He's the president of ES Advisors Group, a public affairs consultancy with over 20 years of experience in implementing public policy, advising electoral campaigns, and directing community-based business and growth initiatives. In addition, Mr. Sanders is a contributor to Fox Soul TV, and you are very familiar with him right here on this program, First Things First, with Dominique DiPrima. Mr. Ed Sanders, good morning, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. James, how are you this morning?
You know what? Today they letting me suit up with the people who I just, I'm a fan of yours, brother. You always bring such clean insight, right? Very, I won't say measured and on the rails, but, you just kind of give it to us straight, right? And, sometimes I didn't like that, but it's right, So I appreciate you, man. Have you recovered from the 4th of July? Lest I get into Frederick Douglass, what is the 4th of July to the Negro? But I digress. How you doing, brother? Did you eat too much?
Man, I ate too much. The sun was out. Got out and enjoyed the sun. Got a chance to hang with family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a chance, to rejuvenate by just seeing friends and family and having some good time in the sun. Obviously, a lot going on in this country to keep a mindful eye on, but we definitely got to take that time to refresh ourselves.
Absolutely. So I'm going to try to walk us through the rest of this hour because there is so much, and I'm not going to throw everything at you because I know we don't have enough time, and I really want to get your insight. But so we're gonna get to the big beautiful bill. We obviously are going to talk about what's happening in Texas, but I want to start. All politics are local, right? The Trump administration announced that they are suing Los Angeles, California, and more specifically Karen Bass regarding these immigration issues. The mayor responded that she thinks it's just a test to test the lower courts. What say you about what's happening from Washington on over to First Street down here in Los Angeles?
Listen, I don't disagree with her. I think the one thing that we are seeing with President Trump in his second term is he's much different than his first term. And to her point about testing the lower courts, in the midst of everything that he's doing, he's going to challenge the lower courts, see how it factors up, and get it to a Supreme Court if necessary. But the conversation for him, from his perspective, is whether or not, the city of Los Angeles can declare itself a sanctuary city. It'll be interesting to see. It'll take more than a couple of weeks to filter through the court system, and we'll see where that goes.
So should other cities and municipalities, I live in Pasadena and we are a sanctuary city, should other cities and municipalities be concerned about this legal action?
I would think so. I think, the question is, what does it mean to be a sanctuary city? From our perspective here in California, to be honest, he's been as punitive as he can, particularly in Los Angeles.
That's a college word, brother Ed. We call it petty where I'm from. Punitive, what that mean? But
ultimately, what does it mean, right? Like he is at every chance he's line iteming and cutting funding for programs that he sees that are beneficial to California. We've declared ourselves a sanctuary city for a number of years, and we can look back at the migration patterns, starting in the early '80s, and we've always understood that with the number of people migrating into California, that you needed to have some sort of designation just to keep public safety, let alone the ability to maintain our own services, whether it be healthcare or whatnot. Listen, in the end game, it's a game in the courts for him. We'll see where it goes. And, I expect ultimately the federal, if it has to get up to the Supreme Court, he'll win whatever the suit says.
I talked about this the other week. Not everybody is happy that municipalities, in light of, this over enforcement, this terrorists, these assaults that are happening on community members, our immigrant community members, but not everybody is happy about municipalities like canceling things like 4th of July activities or recreational centers, or other type of city services. Are they wrong to feel that way, to see, because I guess the argument is, hey, those are my tax dollars too, and I should not be restricted from accessing public facilities or recreation for that matter. Are they wrong?
Yeah, I tend to think so. I mean, I can understand why certain events that might draw particular crowds, which would invite, sort of the conflict of ICE agents. I can understand why you would cancel or just not hold events like that. But in general, events that are servicing a broader swath of the community, I keep them going.
And this one might get me in trouble, right? But I'm gonna do it anyway. Unfortunately, brother, we've, and this is black lens, black man speaking, right? We have been conditioned to normalize, cope, survive, deflect, abscond, however you want to, place it, right? But the jump out boys, police have been jumping out on black folks for years, pulling guns, unlawfully detaining us, harassing us, a whole myriad of degrading behaviors and activities, right? And now we see it at kind of like mass scale in this immigration thing, and I think that's kind of pulling some brothers away from standing in solidarity, right? What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, listen, I think the immigration issue has always been a topic of conversation in the black community, particularly amongst black males, right?
Right.
I think the to the conversation about what it is that drives people, right? I think it's always been a conversation about opportunities to work. And, for a while, although it's been a sort of not a public conversation, I think African-American males have felt that in a lot of ways the immigration has limited economic opportunities. Mm-hmm. And, the reaction that, I think that's where I'm hearing and that's where I'm seeing that reaction coming from, right? Are the guys that I know that, feel like their economic opportunity has been impeded by immigration.
I mean, but let's keep it a buck, man. We once we took a lot of the trades out of schools, right, mm-hmm. and bought into right, wrong, or indifferent the idea that a college education is the pathway forward, right? But we took a lot of tools out of our community's hands. I don't know if I know for a fact my son has never pushed a lawnmower, right? And so it's just a different generation, but let's just call it what it is. A lot of us don't want to do those jobs. So how does that argument balance that the immigrants are taking away opportunities from black folks when those are jobs that some black folks either don't want to do or feel that they're overqualified to do?
But you know what? It honestly doesn't matter because we see the same reaction from white people to us, mm-hmm. right? Like, we're witnessing that same reaction now. White people are saying, hey, you're taking our spot in college, or you're taking, you got the promotion only because you're black. It's not that it's necessarily rooted in anything factual. It's just what, our tribalism in our country leads to, mm-hmm. right? And, for our community, some watching the ICE raids, the tribalism has folks sitting on their hands, and it's not necessarily the solidarity that we might like to see. But that's the tribalism of America, right? Like, mm-hmm. you're always going to get that. I think the more important part is that I think more of our community recognize what these ICE raids are and are, working and standing in solidarity with particularly Latino communities. But quite honestly, we can't ignore that the Caribbean or African immigrants are, being targeted just as much, if not more, by this administration. I think this conversation of immigration, gets focused on, sort of Latino immigration. But, when I look at friends from Haiti, they're scrambling. They're absolutely scrambling to figure out how to protect their families.
Yeah, I told a friend, I said, you look like Big Papi, right? Like you could be confused with the Dominican. I can be confused with the Haitian. Ed, you might be confused with perhaps somebody else from the Caribbean, right? Or even, the continent. And we look at 500,000 Haitians are now trying to figure out how to move safely, I should say, within the states.
Exactly. So this thing is not, so easy just to sit back and say, well, my people aren't from Mexico, or my people aren't from Central America. We've got cousins that are being impacted by these immigration rates just as much.
Right. Well, I'm managing this clock, Ed, and I know you know how it works, so I don't want to get too far ahead of me, but I want to plant something for you so when we come forward, we can continue our conversation. We got to look at this big, beautiful bill, and that passed this, Friday, right, when there was some consternation, and it looked like, there was hope, right? I think there was hope that it wouldn't pass, but we see some back channel and deals were made, and this bill has moved forward. Hakeem Jeffries put up a yeoman's effort of trying to block it, but it was a futile effort. Definitely want to talk about this big, beautiful bill, and then we got to touch on this disaster that's happening in Texas right now, where as of now it looks like 82 people. And it kind of have different reports, 80 to 82, but right now I'm going to go with the 82 report. People have lost their lives. But I want to set this up. In the minute we have left, Ed, what should people be paying attention to in this big, beautiful bill, and we'll unpack the rest of it on the other side?
Wow. The thing that jumps right out is the impact of Medicaid. There are so many people in this country that rely on that for health care funding and services. Cuts to that are very painful, and we look to see how that starts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll pick this up on the other side. This is James Farr. I'm in for Dominique DiPrima. This is First Things First. And as I said, Dominique will be back tomorrow, y'all. Stay with us. News and Traffic is up next, only on KBLA, Talk 1580. We got your black.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Misty Jordan with BIN News Now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to visit the White House today to meet with President Trump. Trump has continued to press the Israeli leader about a ceasefire agreement between the country and the militant group Hamas to end the war in Gaza. Trump has said recently that both are close to a deal, saying one could happen this week. The NBA has its first ever 17 trade deal in the books. The Phoenix Suns are saying goodbye to 15-time All-Star Kevin Durant, who will be going to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and a host of other transactions. And TikTok is reportedly developing a new version of its social media platform for its U.S. customers. Its Chinese parent company must divest its U.S. operations in order to comply with a new federal law by September or risk being banned. Get BIN News now on demand, 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was not a good day for both of LA's baseball teams. The Dodgers and Angels were swept in 3-game series on Sunday. The Dodgers lost at home to Houston 5-1. They start a 6-game road trip tonight at Milwaukee. The Angels fell 3 games below 500 after losing 3-2 at Toronto. The Angels are back home tonight against Texas. The Dodgers will have 3 players in the starting lineup for the All-Star game July 15th in Atlanta. catcher Will Smith, first baseman Freddie Freeman, and designated hitter Shohei Ohtani. Clayton Kershaw, who got his 3,000th career strikeout last week, was invited as a Legends pick. Michael Vick will make his coaching debut at HBCU Norfolk State on national TV. ESPN is making plans to televise Norfolk State's season opener against Towson State on Thursday night, August 28th. Kickoff is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
LA County's Justice Care and Opportunities Department, also known as JCOD, is changing the justice system for Angelenos. If you or someone you love has recently been arrested, come home from jail or prison, or has been justice involved, JCOD can help. We offer access to housing, employment, court reminders, clothing, education, and more. At JCOD, we believe your life should not be defined by your worst moment, and everyone deserves a second chance. JCOD's Justice Connect Support Center is open 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Call us at 833-LAC-JCOD. That's 833-522-5263, or visit us at jcod.lacounty.gov. You can also find us on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and YouTube at LAC JCOD. All services are free and confidential. JCOD serves the justice-impacted population all across LA County. Your future isn't behind you, it's waiting. Reach out by calling 833-LAC-JCOD. That's 833-522-5263, or visit jcod.lacounty.gov.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies to same item, current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr, your host this morning, and I'm subbing in for Dominique DiPrima. Dominique will be back on air tomorrow. As you know, she and Miles are completing their pilgrimage to the continent, and you got me and Odell. Odell, thank you for the music, brother. You in there slapping it. And it's definitely giving us a groove. But right now I'm joined by my partner in politics. He's no stranger to you here on First Things First, Mr. Ed Sanders. And we were talking before we came forward about this big, beautiful bill. And Ed says Medicaid is something that we need to be paying attention to. I'm gonna let you pick that up where you left at, Ed. Why should we be paying attention to this part of it?
Yeah, I'm immediately focused on the pain that the bill inflicts, right? And when you think about Trump, the Project 2025, they're doing exactly what they wanted to do. We saw the push on the DOJ to root out people in the different agencies and departments, and this bill continues that, right? Mm-hmm. So it cuts spending for Medicaid, it cuts spending for SNAP, the food program, and those are two programs that whenever you make cuts to those programs, there's a cruelty in that. And that can't be underscored enough. When you take somebody off Medicaid and they cannot afford health care insurance, you're giving them a death sentence.
Cruelty, it lands at evil, I guess cruelty may be a precursor, right, to one being evil. But I think, as we were discussing around the house, trying to understand, what does that mean? So these states, first of all, California pays the bill for a lot of states, right? We know that we contribute significantly more than we take from the federal government. But I mean, how does this, localize this to Mississippi, localize this to, West Virginia, right? What does that mean for these states with that funding being removed from their annual budgets?
Yeah, well, you wait to see how it the different secretaries and agency leaders deal with the funding, right? Like what cuts within the programs are specific, and given that this just passed on Thursday, Friday, a lot of that still needs to shake out. But let's just take seniors that are living in nursing homes, and how many of them will now not be able to afford that service, and what happens to them, mm-hmm. right? In a lot of cases, we're looking at our elderly that simply cannot care for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so if we haven't provided funding to house and care for them, then are we pushing them into the streets? And while Trump may smile at the prospect of that here in Los Angeles, when that happens in Alabama, when that happens in Texas and Florida, there's going to be a backlash. And I think that's the point. Is like what you're starting to see now are the voice of the opposition really starting to crystallize around this bill. This bill will be the talking point as we get into the midterm elections. You can already see congressional members lining up, and they're catching their voice right now, and they're talking about, to your point, the evil of this bill.
Yeah, I just yesterday had a long conversation with an elder, and, I'm in Pasadena, Altadena area, and she touched on two things you just brought up: Medicaid or Medicare, right? And the SNAP program. She lost her home, had been in her home for 49 years, home practically, small equity line or something like that, very nominal monthly expense. But she is gravely concerned. 77 years old, gravely concerned. She's like, if I lose my health care, if I need my SNAP benefits, right? My question is, and I want to frame this up the right way, but how do white folks vote for something so evil? Like, how do these people in these these smaller states, right, with population smaller than the county of Los Angeles, let alone the state of California, how do they reconcile this? I mean, I know I'm asking you to put your political consulting hat on. I'm like, how? What's the evil in that genius, right?
The simple answer is they don't feel like it's happening to them, right? Like, the first part is there's just so much distraction on this thing. I chuckled last week at the Diddy trial and the verdict. And I was like, oh yeah, of course the verdict is coming, while they're passing this bill. It's like the shiny thing. Look over here and you see what's happening to you on the backside. For them, for white folks, particularly those southern, Midwestern rurals, they feel like it's not happening to them, right? Mm-hmm. Like what Trump is saying is that he's sticking it to us in our community, right? And they have this notion that it's African Americans and Latinos that
but
are
aren't there more poor white people in this country? Aren't there more poor white people receiving benefits, welfare, right?
Yeah, and that's not what they're hearing, right? That's not what they're hearing. What they're hearing is Trump is sticking it to us, and he's making America great again. Because every time I flip open my social media, there's no shortage of videos of somebody interviewing someone in a rural area, asking them these questions, and they're like, "No, that's not what I voted for." It's like, yeah, that's exactly what you voted for. They're not paying attention to that. Trump is a big rah-rah hero to them, but they're not looking at what he's doing. And once they find out, I'm really curious to see what sort of, pushback and how this happens, in the midterms. I suspect there'll be a landslide for Democratic congressional candidates in the midterms.
Well, let's certainly hope so. But but there's no lemon law for presidency, right? Right. Your buyer's remorse. What do you do with that? You voted for him. This is the president of, overwhelmingly, right? It's half this country. 3 times have voted for President Trump. He won twice. If Marvin Gaye were in my seat right now, he'd throw his hands up, brother, because I swear I feel like hollering right now as I am tracking this. Managing this clock. So when we come forward, what I want to talk with you, Ed, I want to, we got to look at what's happening in Texas, right? But I also want you to kind of help guide us through what the response is from FEMA, from the SBA. We've been through this just 6 months ago, and we're still going through it in Altadena, Pasadena, and Los Angeles. As a result of these, and folks, for the record, they were not wildfires. These were urban center fires. These were city fires. They weren't wildfires. But I want to talk with you a little bit more about that, Ed, when we come forward. Only on KBLA, Talk 1580. We got your black.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
KBLA Talk 1580. No, you're not getting back to Dominique DiPrima, but you will tomorrow. I am James Farr, and I'm sitting in for Dominique. Dominique and Miles are making their safe passage, and they will be in the building tomorrow to share more about their pilgrimage over to the continent. I can't wait to listen myself. But right now I'm joined by my partner in politics, Ed Sanders, and we've been navigating right now this big, beautiful bill. And I said we'd be remiss if we didn't, as this story continues to develop and continues to evolve, the flooding in Texas that, as of now, according to news reports, has claimed 82 lives with dozens others missing. Ed, we've seen disaster here in our local area, and our guest earlier, President Brandon Lamar, Pasadena NAACP branch, said at our town hall 80 days ago and said today, right? Disasters don't discriminate, but recovery does. Trump has vowed to support folks in Texas. Governor Abbott is, adamant about recovery. What say you with your political consulting hat going on? Is there going to be a difference in this recovery?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was taken by the statement because it's true. When those hurricanes ravaged Florida a few years ago, the governor DeSantis down there, you could really see where the funding went. It was purposeful. Black communities, funding did not go there. It went directly to the white communities, and they really didn't hide that. That was the way they administered that. From this perspective on the tragedy from this weekend, really honestly, the question is what kind of funding would be available, right? I think Trump will make some moves to allow some FEMA dollars, but he's already been asked the question because he's been on record as wanting to cut FEMA and, eliminate FEMA. And so what he's getting in really, really clear terms is why FEMA is necessary. We are not the masters of Mother Nature. And when Mother Nature strikes, we have to be able to respond. And for, decades now, we as a country have understood that, and we've had an agency prepared for that. And, while, this is all, what this is all based on? This is all really rooted in their opposition to climate change, right? Their inability to acknowledge that the climate has impact on our life. And so if that's your guiding light, then, that's what's driving them to cut, research on, I think at the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, they study the weather service, right? And you cut that, and now, you have to deal with this sort of catastrophe, which is directly related.
Well, I'm not going to argue with the flatliner people. I mean, flat Earth people, right? Or whether or not the climate is changing or not. I mean, we see what we see, and we're experiencing what we're experiencing. But this kind of goes back to what we were talking about in our previous segment. Resources, and Brandon Lamar, president of NAACP Pasadena, touched on FEMA making available. They have two different funds, and it basically totals up to about $100,000. Now, $100,000 will stretch a whole lot differently in Texas or even Florida and many other parts of this country, right? But here in California, specifically Los Angeles County, that's just getting enough to get you in trouble, right?
Right. There are economies of scale for sure. The cost of living in California is higher than Texas and Florida and some of the more rural parts. This to me will also be just sort of a tale of two states, right? Mm-hmm. For this administration, helping out California is just, those are the sorts of things that, land on his desk and he's not moved by it. Abbott has been, sort of the staunch Trump-styled governor in Texas, and I just expect that Trump is going to move differently with regards to this. And quite honestly, I wait to see the demographic breakout of the victims. I think that matters a great deal to him.
Always has. Yeah.
Where, Altadena, so many African Americans were impacted by that. He's not got to lift a finger. But a church camp, for young girls in Texas, and I'm going to
young white girls.
Yeah. Look, I think he's going to be compelled to act, and that's, that's what he is. That's what we've seen. That's what we know of this administration. And so, I don't think either one of us are surprised by the prospect of that.
Let's do this, Ed. When we come forward, I want to get your final thoughts on where we are in this country, and I'm going to leave you with something to chew on. What happened in Texas is natural disaster. What happened here in Altadena appears to be negligence and a man-made situation certainly exasperated by the weather, but certainly looks to be a man-made situation. So I want to kind of juxtapose those two when we come forward. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. I do not consider myself a fan of Sean Puffy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy Love, Brother Love Combs. But one doesn't have to be a fan to acknowledge a simple truth about his recent jury trial. I think the primary reason he was acquitted of those sex trafficking and RICO charges is because he was overcharged in the first place. Mine is not to opine on his guilt or innocence on any of the charges the feds brought against him. But I predicted months ago that he would beat the most serious charges because, as usual, prosecutors have a really bad habit of overcharging black men. Dave Chappelle said it best: Puffy is in a RICO case all by himself, man. Hilarious and arresting at the same time. When prosecutors put a target on the backs of black men, they throw everything at them just to see what sticks. And too often, just like in the Puffy case at the very end, they move to dismiss some of the charges and then double down on the ones they think they can win. It's racist and it's wrong, and somebody ought to say so. I think I just did. Not for the benefit of Puffy, but on behalf of all the other black men who have been and sadly will be woefully overcharged in the future. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr. I'm guest hosting for Dominique DiPrima. Ed Sanders has been my partner in politics in this last hour, and we're getting hard on the time, and we got to land this thing, and it goes by so fast. Ed, I appreciate you this morning. I want to hand it off to you and kind of give you the last minute to kind of take us through what we should be paying attention to. But before that break, before we came forward, I talked about one's, disasters natural, and the other seems to be man-made. How do we reconcile those, and what are your final thoughts for us?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we live on this planet, and the more people on the planet, we're finding ourselves living in areas where we previously didn't. We have to grapple with some of those conversations, whether it's fire safety, water supply, food supply. These are all, sort of overarching issues that we've got to deal with. Relative to protecting ourselves from it or understanding, and I say that because it has to be a larger conversation, because the amount of money that it takes to rebuild a community or protect a community, we've got to make those investments. And in that, there's some very big conversations to be had. I'd wrap it all up by, looking at like this federal bill that Trump has passed, and understanding that the level of disinvestment that's coming, over the next couple of years from the federal government is going to severely impact our future quality of life. And we're gonna have to figure out ways to be better, right? Certainly we got to look at this bill and we'll form our opposition to it and we'll rebound. But in the rebound, as we start talking about politics in the future, our politics have got to stay what we stand for and what we want. And in these sort of conversations, we're saying if we're going to live in areas, we want the water to be pure, we want the water to be fresh. If we want ourselves to be safe from fire, we can do that. We can do the brush cutting. We can do all the things. We can drop the wires below ground. We can do all of those.
We got to pin it. We got to pin it right.
We got to wrap.
We got to pin it right there. Ed Sanders, thank you so much for joining us. When we come forward, Professor James Lance Taylor joins me, and I'm going to let him off the leash. Only on KBLA Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Misty Jordan with BIN News Now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to visit the White House today to meet with President Trump. Trump has continued to press the Israeli leader about a ceasefire agreement between the country and the militant group Hamas to end the war in Gaza. Trump has said recently that both are close to a deal, saying one could happen this week. The NBA has a